Hi, this is Camper Jim with the Adventure Camper Company. In this video, we'll walk you through everything you need to know about our Apex Nano we like to call White Lightning. I hope you enjoy. Hi, this is Camper Jim with Adventure Camper Company. We're going to talk to you a little bit about how to get set up for tow. First thing we're going to want to do is to make sure we have a spotter, and we're going to back up to the hitch. So that's what we're going to do next. Note where the trailer ball and the trailer coupler are in this image. When backing up, first make sure that the trailer coupler is slightly higher than the trailer ball is. Also note that the ball is about halfway rested underneath the coupler. At this point, we'll be able to lower the trailer and then pull it onto the ball. So hopefully we're close enough right now that the ball, the hitch will pull onto the ball. That'll be our next step. What we want to make sure to do right here is this latch needs to be pulled backward in that position. Okay? That's what we need first before we can actually get it mounted up. That should pull right on like that. We'll put the full load of the camper on the hitch. All right, then we're going to lock this in place. The very next thing that we're going to want to do is put our pin in place so that this doesn't come loose. We want to make sure that we've got our chains connected in a cross pattern. There goes one, and two like that with a cross pattern. The next thing we want to do is to take the brake arming cable, and then we're going to attach this separately in the same spot on the hitch down here where we did the chains, but it needs to be separate. Next, we are going to connect the Kurt Echo brake controller to the tow vehicle. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and connect this. There's going to be an LED light that's going to light up once we get this in. Next thing we want to make sure that we do is to wrap this tether around and strap it down. Everything's lit up and good to go. So the next thing that we're going to do is connect our wiring harness to that. Now that everything's connected, we need to download the Kurt Echo brake controller app on our cell phone. In this video, we'll show you how to decouple the camper when you're at your campsite. Welcome to camp. This video is going to walk you through how to set up and make sure that you do so safely when you arrive. First thing we do before we do anything else is we're going to have a spotter help us back the rig into our campsite. So you're going to want to make sure that you have somebody in plain view on the driver's side letting you know whether you're getting too close to something. Always remember to look out for tree limbs or anything like that, curbs, your power post, all that stuff. Just keep a sharp eye out on that when you're backing up. We're going to go ahead and chuck these wheels. Where you're camping should be fairly flat, so go ahead and chuck front and back, driver's and passenger side. We're going to come around and do that real quick. All right, so now we're going to detach from our tow vehicle. Let's go ahead and do that. So we'll provide you with plenty of blocks. You're going to want to make sure that you have enough so that you don't have to fully extend your jack, because we're going to need that jack to help us lift to loosen the strain on the sway bar bracket. So I'm going to put these underneath, get that fairly close, and then we're going to start getting this down. All right, so that's just started. Next, I want to make sure I get all my chains, my brake cable, and my wiring harness all disconnected first. So I'm going to hop over to this side and start. I'm going to take the Kurt Echo brake control off. First thing you want to do with that is you want to put that in your glove box. The replacement cost on that is over $300, so we don't want to lose that. I'll be back in a second. Okay, we got the Kurt Echo brake controller put away, so next we're going to make sure that we get the carabiner detached for the emergency brake cable. There we go. Okay, so with these in, we're going to leave these just down for right now because I want to talk to you a little bit about the stabilizer bars. We're going to go ahead right now. There's a lot of load on those bars. There's no way for us to get them off the L bracket. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead with the camper still hitched to the tow vehicle. We're going to actually raise the back of the truck. And that's going to take some of the strain off those bars so we can retract them. Okay, with the camper lifted just a bit, the stress should be off these bars now. We'll go ahead and pull the cotter pins, take the L bars off. This should just pull right off if there's enough strain off, and it does real easy, and that'll just swing loose. Again, remember, this is a pinch area, so you can get your fingers hurt. Go ahead and come in for a close shot, and I'm going to show you. We're going to just grab that, and there's a little pin here. We're going to lift that up, just like that, and then this is going to slide out, and that's all there is to it, okay? So we'll do the same thing over on the other side real quick. Before we do, make sure that you put this little L holder on the L bracket, and go ahead and put the cotter pin back in so that you don't lose those. That's going to be important for when you head back out. Let's go to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Pull. That's going to come right out. And remember, be careful right here. I'm going to lift up, and then I'm going to lift that pin. That's going to come right out. So that's taken care of. Here, quickly now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and lower the camper down. Once it's lowered, we can go ahead and take it off the hitch. All right, we got it almost all the way down. So now we can go ahead and pop this off. There's no weight on this because it's resting on the hitch. So we should be able to lift up and pull that back all the way back. And now this is open. Now when we lift the camper, it should come off. Okay, there we go. So we can put that back forward, put our pin back in place so we don't lose it. And now we'll pull forward just a few feet so that we can take the hitch off the tow vehicle. Okay, so now that we're out a few feet, we've got some clearance. We'll pull that cotter pin, pull our holding pin, a couple of hands. This thing's fairly heavy. Bring that down. Make sure that we have this all together again. And then you're going to want to put this away right away. So just inside this storage compartment, there's some cardboard to lay it down so it won't mar the flooring. Go ahead and take your bars and your hitch and go ahead and put those away and lock those securely. Out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to worry about where they're at when you're ready to head out. Next, we'll show you how to deploy the stairs and operate the entry and screen doors. We can use our blue keys to get in and come right open for you. Right here is the pin that we pull. That'll bring the stairs down. Now the stairs are resting on their own weight on the threshold. We don't want to step on them yet until we've lowered the feet. On the inside of the first stair tread, there is a pin. We pull that out, and that's going to lower the leg. We're going to do the same thing over here. So now that is solid. You'll see that the door is level with the threshold. There's no weight bearing down on the threshold, and this is not sitting up high like this. If it is, when you close the door, you're going to damage the door and you're going to mar the stairs. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about how the pass door and screen work. So what you don't want to ever do is to just pull on the screen alone when you're opening and closing. You're going to want to actually grab a hold of the door itself. If you want the screen to be open or deployed and to leave the door open, this latch right here is going to hold. And if you come over here real quick and see, there's just a real small piece of plastic with a very narrow barb. That's all that's holding that. So if you start yanking on the door from the screen, that's going to wear that out or break that piece of plastic. That's why we want to be careful. So we're going to do that. So again, make sure that you just close the door with the door. And then right here, when you're inside, you can close that, and then we won't have any bugs getting in. We've got a screen. Okay, let's talk about the slide out. we're going to go ahead and get that started right here. Completely extend the slide out. Do not partially extend it and then stop. Likewise, when pulling it back in, do not stop part way. Let the motor stop on its own. Remember to have a spotter outside and then just go ahead and press the out. I want you to hear what those sounds like when those cables get tension on them. Your slide out is fully deployed and you've got a lot more space. Next, we'll show you how to connect to city power. So if you're on shore power or electric, you're going to connect to the back driver's side right here to your 30 amp service. This is going to go in and turn slightly, and then that'll lock it in, and then you can screw this like a mason jar, and then that'll hold that. Then we're going to go ahead and unfurl this and connect it to our post power. Next, we'll show you how to connect to city water at your campsite. We have got a 25-foot marine drinkable grade water hose. You're going to connect that right here at the camper. There is a water pressure regulator, and that will be connected to the hose already. Make sure that you use that so that if the pressure at your campsite is extremely high, it won't blow the lines or the plumbing out in the camper. So we'll hook this up here, and then we'll hook this up at our water stump at our campsite.
In this video, we'll take a tour of the inside of the Apex Nano bunkhouse and show you how to use many of its components.
Okay, let's talk about the slide out. Let's go ahead and press the out. I want you to hear what those sounds like when those cables get tension on them. When deploying the slide out, make sure you have a spotter outside to be sure that you're not going to hit anything. Also, make sure no debris collects on the top of the slide out during your trip. So you're good to go. Your slide out is fully deployed and you've got a lot more space. These are our lights. So if we go ahead and turn that on, we've got a light strip outside. Turn that back off. And let's talk about the awning. We ask that you do not deploy the awning. Awnings are one of the most expensive parts to repair and most prone to damage on a trip. So we ask that you don't. Down here is our stereo, and we've got zone A and B. Power is right here. I'll just hit AM and FM. Here's power for your coffee pot in the morning. The blinds in the kitchen should be up when you're in transit, and always use the claw to hold the string so that the string's not near the stove while using it. The camper comes equipped with two 20-pound LPs of propane. Access the propane tanks, undo the two small clips, and lift the cover off. You'll see that there is a black selector valve. You'll be able to choose between the left and right tanks. Leave that where it is when you get the rental. If one tank empties, you can simply swing it over to the other side like this. The propane is always turned off while you're in transit. Now that we're camping, we go ahead and turn on the tank that we'll be using just like this. Remember to turn the tank off before you return home. We're going to use a stick lighter, and all you need to do is to go ahead and get yourself a flame right next to it, and then turn the fire on. And there's our burners, just like that. So now we're ready to cook. When you've finished cooking, turn the burners off and allow them to cool several minutes before lowering the glass to ensure the glass does not break. So we're going to talk about water. The first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to show you where the water pump and the water heater and the tank and power gauges are. That's in the back in the lavatory. You want to come back here with me real quick? The holding tank heater switch is only turned on if there's a chance of freezing temperatures outside. It keeps the holding tanks from freezing up on you. The toggle switch at the bottom of the center control panel turns the water pump on and off. If you're boondocking and are not connected to city water, be sure this is turned on before you turn the water heater on. We can check gray, black, freshwater tanks, and our battery level. Gray is going to show empty, black is empty, Our fresh water, we got about 2/3 of a tank of water. So if we were boondocking, we'd still have about 35 gallons of water to use. And our battery is fully charged. Before turning the hot water heater on, you must either be connected to city water or have fresh water in your reserve tank and have the pump turned on. To run the hot water tank on electricity, use the right switch and simply press it down. To use propane to heat your hot water, simply use the switch on the left. This will be done anytime you're not connected to city power or you're boondocking and using a generator. All right, so you've got the exhaust fan simply unscrews to open, and there is a push button on and off switch on the left. Press it on or off right there. You use this. Moisture is a killer for campers. Moisture is the #1 cause of damage in campers. Please be sure to use the vent fan while showering. If there's weather of any kind, you're going to want to make sure. Keep the bathroom vent closed unless you're using the lavatory or shower to prevent rain from coming in. When you use these, it's counterclockwise on and clockwise off for both. While you're showering, there's a small lever at the end of the shower head that you can use to pause the flow of water while showering. This is especially helpful if you are trying to conserve water when boondocking and to reduce the amount of water you fill the gray tank with. We're going to show you how to use the lavatory. Slightly depress the pedal in the front until you have several inches of water. When you're done, press the pedal fully open and let it rinse out. For your sink, there's a small stopper down here if you want to hold that water, otherwise hot and cold, just like you'd have at home. This is a GFI control, so if you have a hair dryer or curling iron or anything and you want to get gussied up, you'll be able to do it right there. So the bunks are really best for smaller adults or your kids. Adults should be careful in using the bunk beds. The maximum weight capacity is 250 pounds. Be careful as you climb up. Make sure that you have your foot firmly planted and not just on the trim so that the trim doesn't get damaged or broke. And then also, make sure, moms and dads, that you have the kids keep their feet off the ceiling. So make sure that they know not to keep their feet on the ceiling or on the underside here. Be real careful with the blinds. They're super easy to get damaged. We don't want that to happen. So make sure that they're aware that they need to be careful with those if those are pulled down. We've got an extra storage. There's a pull pin, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like. There we go. So this can then get put right there, and that'll hold this up. Just so you know, there's a 120 outlet on the top here for electric, and we've got one down here on the bottom as well, so that way you'll be able to charge your phones and everything. Okay, so some really basic safety features you have. You've got a fire extinguisher just on the side of the door. We've got our fire alarm right here. Also down here, this is a propane or gas sensor. So if there's any leak of any kind of gas, this will go off and we'll know about it. Okay, so right here is your breaker and your fuse box. So if you ever have something that goes off, you'll be able to reset those breakers right there. Furnace control is real simple. We're to just slide it until you feel comfortable and then back it off just a little bit, and that's all. Air conditioning controls are very straightforward. There is one for the temperature control and one to control the fan. Air condition low, medium, or high, or fan only low, medium, or high. So underneath each bench seat is storage. So you'll just move your cushions up. This piece of plywood will come up, and you've got your storage there, and you can also, of course, access it right here. If we want to convert this to from a dinette to a bed, convert the dinette to a bed. Lift the table, remove the pipes, and then place the cushions on top of the table. I'm going to show you how we deploy the couch so that you can convert it to a bed. Just simply lift up on the front, pull out, and let it lay down. Pull the bed mattress out, then push it back in, and just like that, you've got your bed. And then all we do to reverse that is same thing backwards. Pull the bed out a little bit, slide that forward, and this will lock in just like that, and now we've got our couch again. The microwave will run when you're on city power or you have a generator running. You've got your fridge and your freezer right here. Right here is your on. So I go ahead and press
the button on the left to turn the refrigerator freezer on and listen for the beep. The auto light will also illuminate. That's all you should need if you're using electricity. If, however, you want to use gas, push the button on the right and it will extend outward slightly and you will be operating on propane.
When we're cooking, we want this open. There's a wing nut here. We're going to open that vent hood, and then we've got 3 speeds right here, low, medium, and high. If you are heating in the fall, the difference of temperature inside and out will cause condensation on the inside of the camper. So it's good to leave this open just a little bit to get a little bit of ventilation. When it's time to go, we're going to simply put the slide room in.
Just before you close the slide out, make sure the floor is clean and go outside, do a quick check of the top of the slide out and on the sides to make sure no sticks or debris are stuck and will get pulled in when you retract the slide out. That can cause the seals to get torn.
Like watching paint dry, right? That's it. Okay, so when we're ready to break camp, one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure that we turn our power off on our pump. Make sure that everything's turned off there. So let's break camp. We've got everything buttoned up. We've got the slide out in. We've checked to make sure that all of the power is turned off to the refrigerator and to the water pump. Everything is turned off there. Once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and lift the stairs in, make sure that they lock. Once they're locked, we're going to close this up, and we'll use our pass keys that we talked about, the blue keys, and we'll lock this, and then we'll lift and secure that. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure that our stabilizer jacks are lifted up on the sides.
One thing to remember is that your jacks should be up and your chucks removed before you pull out, and always check for anything underneath the camper before departing.